Hi, everybody, and welcome to the press. It's Ryan Ballinger. Great to have you with us. It's a little bit of an awkward week for me this week, so I'm getting the show later to you than I usually would like. It's on a Wednesday morning when we're doing this. I went to TGL on Monday, so traveled down there during the day. I've also been dealing with what feels like either flu or really bad cold, and so basically napped the entire time until went to TGL. Had a great time, rallied for that, came home. I helped coach a high school golf team. Our first match was Tuesday. So the last 48 hours have been absolutely insane. So finally got everything together. It's a good thing we didn't do this show on Monday about the Texas Children's Houston Open like we would usually do, because Scotty Scheffler immediately withdrew, what was that, Tuesday or Monday evening? And so anything I had done on Monday morning would have been thrown out the window to some degree. Not to a total degree, right? We still have our model. We still have horses for courses. And while Scotty Scheffler was like 3.5 to 1 to win this thing, he was by no means a certainty to pick up this title, even though he is probably the best horse for course play that you could have had this week other than Steven Yeager, who we will get to a little bit later on. So I want to get into this with you today and kind of go over the usual stuff. There's no video component to this show this week because, again, I just got to get it done and get it out to you, and the time that it takes to kind of do the video piece of it is just too long. So for his expediency's sake, I want to make sure that you have everything that we're doing here. So let's go over the top 10 for the model. I want to start with that, then we'll get into betting odds. I'll kind of pare this down a little bit instead of our usual cadence on the show so you can get your bets in, and if you hear what you like, get out. Totally understand. All right, top 10 for the model this week. Believe it or not, Brooks Koepka is number one. Now, reason for that is he has a lot of major championship experience. He doesn't have a ton of PGA Tour starts. The last several have been good. So we're looking at 1 and 2 year windows. He's been playing better. That it kind of makes sense for that perspective, but he's still making a lot of mistakes, a lot of drop shots. And if he can clean that up, he can do very well here. He is a co-designer on this golf course. He's the player. Well, he's not the co-designer, but he's the player consultant that the PGA Tour used when they worked with Tom Doak to redo Memorial Park, which is, by the way, an incredibly reasonably priced golf course if you were playing Houston. But that he was 20 in 2021, so the year before he went to live, he finished in 5th here. It's the only time he's ever played this golf course in a tournament, and I think he has a good chance to win. Minwoo Lee, defending champion, 2nd. Ben Griffin, 3rd. Harry Hall, 4th. Marco Penge, 5th. Shane Lowry, 6th. Ryan Gerard, 7th. Sam Burns, 8th. Jake Knapp, 9th. Hal Tong Lee, 10th. My concern with Jake Knapp is the injury. So where are we at with that? Shane Lowry has been close a couple times this year. I think it's a reasonable play. He wouldn't be playing this for nothing. Ben Griffin has not looked the same. Harry Hall seems to do well in Texas events and also in these courses that are about 7,450, 7,500 yards long. So that works for me. Ryan Gerard's game just kind of seems to work well everywhere. So that works too. Sam Burns likes this golf course, has 2 top 15s here. Hal Tong Lee doesn't really have a lot of rounds. Neither does Marco Penge. But Penge has clearly showed he has plenty of pop in the bat. He has the kind of game that works on golf courses like this that are really ball strikers courses. Big greens, you got to hit it close to give yourself reasonable chances. His short game isn't incredible. His putting's not the best, but he can give himself a chance to play well here. If you want to look at players who have done well here in the past, so horses for courses, there are a handful of guys that I think you at least want to know about. So here are the guys with 2 top 15 finishes in the last 5 years that this tournament's been played, which goes back to Memorial Park. But remember that we've only had a couple of years of this tournament now back in the springtime. So Steven Yeager and Minwoo Lee winning this tournament. So some of these guys have played well in the fall, and some of these guys have played well in both. Sam Burns has 2, Damon has 2, Aaron Rye has 2, Alex Smalley, I think is interesting, has 2. Alejandro Tosti has 2. Gary Woodland has 2. Guys, Tony Finau has 2, but he's really more of a fall guy. Mac Hughes has 3. Steven Yeager has 3. There's your list. If you kind of notice some things, especially a couple of these guys, I mean, they're a couple long hitters, right? Sam Burns hits it fairly far. I mean, he's got a great short game, a great ball striker. But Steven Yeager just hits the crap out of it. So does Toasty. Gary Woodland is a good ball striker, and he's a U.S. Open champion, but again, hits the ball pretty hard. I like Gary Woodland a little bit more this week than I think I would have otherwise because he played pretty well at Valspar, which is a place he likes. So maybe that applies here as well. So just a guy to keep in mind there. Toasty's only like, I think, 150 to 1, 175 to 1 to win this week. So I think he's worth a look. He's worth at least a little bit of a look. But Steven Yeager, for me, feels like a decent play. Some course fits for this week. This golf course is a lot like Innisbrook. A lot more emphasis on putting than you think, but the reason isn't because of putting. It's because the putting surfaces are huge by square footage. So if you have lots of 40 and 50-foot putts, there's a decent chance you 3-putt a lot. There's a decent chance you don't get close, and you lose strokes putting. It's not so much that you gain a ton, it's that you lose them. And if you look at the data from last week, so at the Valspar, and you look at guys in terms of total performance, strokes gained putting over the course of the 4 rounds, your best putter all week was Kensai Hirata, and he's at 6.86 strokes gained putting. You know, that Brandt Snedeker and Sungjae Im putted well. That's what got them there. That's why they struggled. You can only putt so well for so long and not be able to hit the ball as well over the course of a week. Of the 9.2 strokes that Sungjae Im gained over the week, 5.3 of them were from putting. For Brandt Snedeker, he gained 5.216 because he struggled on Sunday. 6 of those were from putting. It is not a reliable data point to stick on forever. So you have to know that. You still got to putt pretty well. Marco Penge gained 9.216 strokes, right? But he gained 3.796 of those by putting. So he spread it out a little bit better, right? He had 5.42 strokes gained tee to green. That's more where we're looking. We want tee to green. We like tee to green numbers. So just something to think about as you're kind of looking at that. But anyway, course fits. So Steven Yeager, Ryan Fox, Mark Hubbard, Jason Day, Bo Hostler. Those, Yeager and Fox. I like Ryan Fox quite a bit this week. I liked him quite a bit last week. Similar golf courses. So I do kind of like the opportunity there. Let's get into a little bit of a look of just kind of the general odds for the week. As mentioned, when Scotty Scheffler withdrew, the field seemed to kind of get, it depends. You know, Minwoo, I saw him at the outset of the week, like 16 to 1, 18 to 1, depending on where you are. Now he's about 15 to 1. So not much changed, even though he's now the favorite. He's not enough of a change. He's not that much better than Chris Gotterup or Jake Knapp or whoever to see a big bump, right? But like a Brooks Koepka, who's actually been bet down this week, he's 25 to 1. He opened the week 20 to 1 or 22 to 1. So people didn't like that number. And if you waited a little bit, you can get him at a better one. I like that. Chris Gotterup is 20 to 1. Jake Knapp's 23 to 1. Again, I have an injury concern there. Sam Burns is 25 to 1. Kurt Kitayama is 28 to 1 currently, along with Nikolai Højgaard. I like Kitayama's game for this golf course quite a bit. He seems to like these longer, kind of grinded out golf courses. You're still going to be able to go pretty low here if you hit the ball close. But if you don't, or if the wind blows, it gets pretty tricky. 32 to 1 for Marco Penge and Michael Thorbjornsen. I would take Penge over Thorbjornsen. Ricky Fowler's been playing well. He's 35 to 1. Ryan Gerard, 36 to 1. Again, his game travels. I'm going to skip Ben Griffin. Shane Lowry, I do like. Because he isn't closing things out, 44 to 1. I mean, he's at the same price as Adam Scott, who played well at API and played well at Riviera. So, yeah, they're probably close to the same guy. Harris English is going to get a lot of credit this week. He's also 45 to 1 to win this title. A guy I like as well is Keith Mitchell. I'm kind of surprised he's in this price range, to be honest with you. Harry Hall's 45 to 1. Sahith Theegala's 45 to 1. Pearson Coody needs a decent week to get into the top 50 and qualify for the Masters. I kind of like that motivation. He's a 48-1. He's a Texan. I like that as well. So, there's a bunch of guys in this range I kind of like. I like Sahith Theegala. He just won on TGL. He played nicely, and he's been playing okay. Keith Mitchell's on a good form. Harry Hall fits this golf course. There's a lot of kind of clutter in that range in a good way. Steven Yeager and Alex Smalley, 60 and 65-1 respectively, I think make a ton of sense here. Just going to try to keep going down the board. 67-1 for Ryan Fox. I like him. I really like Christopher Raitan. 66-1. I like Ryan Fox more, but I do like Raitan's game quite a bit. If you're thinking about like following Aaron Rai, who's missed 2 cuts in a row, but likes this golf course, 92-1. I think that's probably about a fair playoff there, but Rai's fallen off from a couple of years ago, and it's pretty clear. Gary Woodland at 94-1, I would rather have him. Runner-up here last year, good run last year, playing okay. Seems to be kind of in a good space to kind of just when he kind of told everyone, hey, I went through PTSD. I'm still going through PTSD after having brain surgery for the pressure on his brain, the malformations that he had to deal with. And I think that kind of helped in a way. And I think a lot of people rally behind the guy. He's a good dude. So 94-1 makes him interesting. Sudarshan Yalamaraju, 94-1. I like him so much, but I can't go with him. Let's get into even deeper. Matty Schmidt's been playing okay, but he's kind of fallen off a little bit. Lee Hodges at 115-1, I think, is worth a consideration. Johnny Kiefer is just not working out. He was DFL last week. He's got to find something. I know he's under a lot of pressure because there are a lot of expectations for this kid, and he's probably feeling them at this point. I think John Perry is kind of interesting. He just makes a lot of cuts. Doesn't do anything special, but maybe on a top 10. He's 175-1 to win. Maybe a top 10 or top 20 is worth a look for the guy. I've been tremendously disappointed in a lot of the younger guys. I mean, David Ford shows signs. Johnny Kiefer's struggling. Luke Clanton's not getting it. Chandler Blanchett is playing okay. He's had a couple of good starts in a row. 200-1. I think he probably should be a little bit deeper. I think he should be more like 300-1. But he is showing signs that maybe he's starting to figure this out a little bit. He's got better odds than Luke Clanton, who is way more of an accomplished player, at least at that collegiate level. But Chandler's doing all right, man. AJ Ewart at 275-1. I think at some point the books will realize he makes a lot of cuts and he's not a bad player. I think the knock on him is he came from Q school and kind of came out of nowhere. He's a good player. He knows how to play PGA Tour style golf. I think he is a guy you might want to start thinking about betting almost every week with a 1/10 kind of unit size bet, because I think he can win on this tour. Just the data I've seen, it's really not bad. I think he's an interesting player. Beyond that, a lot of at the back end of this field that I just can't support. It's not good. So everything beyond that, no thanks. Just not worth your time. So don't do that to yourself. This is an interesting week in terms of, you look at past champions. You really only have those couple from the spring. I don't really consider the fall. It's a different golf course. Houston's different in the fall than in the spring. So again, you're looking at guys like Minwoo and Steven Yeager. They're really not the same guy. I mean, Minwoo hits the ever-living hell out of the ball, so does Steven Yeager. But Minwoo is a more refined player, in my opinion. But length first does matter here. It's not everything. It is definitely not everything, but it sure as hell helps. And that's just kind of the PGA Tour in general. That's not a special thing to this event. That's just the PGA Tour in general. So there's a fair amount to like this week, but I think a lot of your value is in that 45 to 70-1 range. A couple of 90 to 100s to look at with Woodland and maybe an AJ Ewart as like a fun deep shot. And other than that, get the hell away from this and do not bother yourself. I want to cover the other tournaments this week just to keep it all together in one show. We'll get it out the door for you. The Hero Indian Open is this week, one of my favorite golf courses on the DP World Tour because it is so messed up. DLF Golf and Country Club in Delhi. This is a Gary Player golf course. some of the holes are just beyond comprehension bad. The 17th hole, the DP World Tour loves to build up as like this great challenge hole. It is a S show of a hole. It is a bad golf course, but people have to play it, and people win on it. And Eugenio Chikara won here last year. So, okay. I guess there's that. So you have Akshay Bhatia is actually playing this week. He's collecting a boatload of money to come play this tournament. Didn't play the TGL finals because he had agreed to this a long time ago. He's 7-1 to win. I don't really like looking at the favorites of this golf course. I think it's insane because this golf course is so weird and really kind of off-putting for a lot of players. I think you just kind of have to know, all right, anything can happen here. I don't really like a lot of bets here this week. I do like Elvis Smiley playing off of Liv. 36-1. He's a fairly decent player. And I think that's a good price value-wise relative to what he can do. I think Brandon Robinson Thompson's kind of interesting here this week. Jacob Scott Olsen, I think, is also interesting here this week. Other than that, you got to keep the ball in play. So maybe like a Matteo Manacero at 100-1. Freddie Shot at 135-1, I think, is a disrespectful price. One guy I will throw out to you, and then we'll be done with this tournament. MJ Defoe, played on the PGA Tour in the past, has really struggled the last couple of years, some injury issues. He's been playing the Hotel Planner Tour, which is their Korn Ferry Tour on the European Tour. He's already won twice. He won last week. He's 200-1 in this tournament. He's going to get to the DP World Tour for next year. I think he could be a sneaky pick to kind of roll on that momentum and maybe do something here this week. I also love Pablo Larrazabal on this golf course, 290-1. I like him on just some random golf courses, and this is one of them. So there's your Hero Indian minute. The Korn Ferry Tour is back in the United States for the first time this year at the Landings in Savannah, Georgia for the Club Car Championship. Blades Brown and Ben Coles are your favorites at 22-1. I love Blades Brown, and he played very well at Puerto Rico. It's kind of hard to take him as a favorite. I mean, he's an 18-year-old kid, and you're telling me he's the favorite going into a Korn Ferry Tour event that has a pretty good field. That's just tricky to me. But he did finish tied for 40th last week at the Valspar Championship, so there's something to be said for that, I suppose. Ian Holtz, 28-1, along with Zach Blair. Jeremy Gandon, who was won here, 33-1. Kind of tough to get behind. Taylor Montgomery at 40-1, I think, is worth a look. Doc Redman, who's recently won on this tour, is 40-1. I think he's worth a consideration. Cooper Dossie has been playing okay at 45-1. Beyond that, yeah, no one's really established themselves as like the guy to beat. I mean, Ian Holt won back-to-back. He's going to the PGA Tour, but he's only kind of been okay since. Maybe a Rick Lamb at 100-1, I think, is kind of worth it a little bit. But right now, it just seems like a lot of guys who earned cards through this tour last year already come back to this tour because they're deep doo-doo to try to play next year. So it's kind of rough. I think we need more here, but this is a golf course that can be very much subject to the wind. And in that case, a lot of weird, kind of random things can happen. Grayson Sigg might be interesting. He's a Georgia boy, kind of oscillating back and forth between the PGA Tour, full status, some status, and here sometimes. One day it's going to work out for him, if it ever works out, but I do like him here as well. All right, last one of the week. Ford Championship on the LPGA. They are in Arizona for this tournament, second year for this event. Nelly Korda is 6-1. She's only played 2 events this year, first and second place. She's definitely playing better, seems motivated. She's playing with her sister this week, too. Jessica Korda is playing in the field this week, so kind of interesting there. Maybe worth a look. Se Young Kim is 16-1. She's been playing great golf, kind of under the radar for a while. I think she's maybe worth a look. Oh, man. I would say Chizzy UI at 33-1, I think, is worth a consideration. Gabby Lopez, I think, will like this golf course a little bit at 40-1. Lynn Grant at 65-1. She's kind of struggling a little bit. I don't know why she's on that number. I think that's a little much. Cassie Porter I think is worth a look at 90-1. She's been bet down, actually. She played very well in Australia during their run of tournaments where Hannah Green lit it up. She won the Aussie Women's Open and the Women's PGA of Australia. But Cassie Porter played very, very well at the Women's Australian Open. I think she's worth a look, at least, at that number. But it feels like right now, Lexi Thompson's playing this week. Maybe a little honeymoon bounce. I mean, she just got married. She really doesn't have to do this. She hits it far enough. I think she could be maybe, I mean, she's just playing happy. She's got nothing to lose. I think that could be an interesting one. At 195-1, that's a crazy number for a player that is that accomplished. But it doesn't feel like really past Nelly and Gino. And Gino's 7-1. I just don't think this golf course is going to be too great for her. She was okay last week out in Menlo Park. Maybe I think it would just be Nelly, Chizzy, Gabby Lopez, and Cassie Porter for me, and then probably Lexi Thompson, just on the nature of her kind of being semi-retired and playing after a marriage and probably a honeymoon and being happy and all that good stuff. Yeah. The nappy effect is true for like recent newborn dads on the PGA Tour, but there's also the honeymoon effect of just being happy in your life can lead to some good things on any tour. So maybe consider her. All right. That's going to do it for us on this show. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Hope you can kind of get everything out of this in a quick 20-minute package just so you can go after everything on a Wednesday that you might be interested in. We'll go back to a normal slate of shows next week. Thank you so much for your time. Really, really appreciate it. Good luck with all your bets this week. Get a hold of me on social media at either Ryan Ballengee or Ryan Ballengee Golf. Golf News, that's a handle for all of our stories and links on social media. Pick your platform for that, as well as great news conference content, great video content over at our Instagram and Facebook pages, as well as our YouTube channel, Golf News Net. You can subscribe to our audio-only YouTube channel, Golf News Net Radio, if you just want to listen to your podcasts from us on that channel as well. And you can join Golf News Net for $40 for 1 year, $70 for 2 years, or $100 for 3 years over at thegolfnewsnet.com. Thank you so much. We'll talk to you next week here on The Press.